Hey there, I'm AJ Pickett, your guide and sage of Candlekeep, here to pull back the veil of one of Dungeons & Dragons' most enigmatic and terrifying planes, the Shadowfell. Forget what you think you know from the player's handbook. Much of this crucial lore was quietly removed from 5th edition, but the truth remains. This isn't just a grim reflection of the material plane, it's a living, breathing entity of despair and lost possibilities that holds secrets capable of changing your entire campaign. I've been immersed in Dungeons & Dragons lore for decades, and what I've discovered about the Shadowfell, its origins, its inhabitants, and its profound connection to parallel dimensions, is both exhilarating and profoundly unsettling. So let's delve into the dark heart of this plane and uncover the forbidden truths that Wizards of the Coast try to erase from the realms. In this video, we'll learn everything you need to know about the Shadowfell. We will discover that the Shadowfell isn't just a grim reflection of the prime material plane, the day-to-day reality of the Dungeons & Dragons setting. It's an entropy sink that absorbs echoes from countless parallel prime material planes, leading to disturbing cross-dimensional encounters and potential existential crises for adventurers. So I'll be punching heavy right from the start. Next, we will unveil the Shadowvar. These exiled Netherese, transformed into shades, wield dark magic to rebuild their empire, actively reshaping Faerun's climate and infiltrating its societies, driven by a devotion to Shah, goddess of darkness that is more a business deal than true faith. And speaking of gods, goddess of death, fate, and winter, the Raven Queen is obsessed with collecting memories and strong emotions, particularly those tied to loss, and her Shadowvari followers, bound to her, are near immortal agents navigating the planes to serve her inscrutable will. Finally, the dark powers and the domains of dread. These notorious demiplanes, including Barovia, are not just isolated horrors but interconnected prisons within the Shadowfell, meticulously crafted by the enigmatic dark powers to torment the multiverse's greatest villains. Would you like to know more? Well, grab yourself a tasty beverage. I suggest a mug from my Fourthwall store, because it's time to get deeply nerdy. Wait, you've never heard about the Shadowfell? While the Feywild enchants with its dreamlike realms where memory can be fleeting, the Shadowfell is its chilling opposite. It's a plane of entropy where emotions are deadened, existence feels muffled, and what happens is not easily forgotten. It's a desolate, dark plane where most colour has been leached from everything, and the sky is a black vault without sun or stars. Landmarks from the prime material plane are recognisable but warped and distorted, reflecting a pervasive gloom and stagnation. But here's the ultimate truth about the Shadowfell. It's not a separate universe, but a bleeding-edge entropy sink where echoes of every parallel prime material plane converge. This means that beings from multiple parallel realities can coexist here. When you die here, you don't simply return to your prime material plane, you risk spawning a duplicate in a parallel reality, complete with a version of yourself that's still alive. Imagine facing a version of yourself who sold their soul to a Fey king, or one who mercilessly hunts down other versions of themselves across realities to gain power. This phenomenon opens the door to Rick and Morty style cross-dimensional adventures, leading to profound existential dread for characters who suddenly remember a world and identity that is seemingly gone, yet still accessible if they know the dark secrets of the Shadowfell. To summarise, the Shadowfell serves as an entropy sink, absorbing dying realities and acting as a nexus for alternate prime material planes. It's a plane of decay where the echoes of countless parallel worlds converge, making it a source of existential horror and cross-dimensional travel. The Dark Powers, the Shadowvar, the Raven Queen, the Seelie and Unseelie Fey courts guard this rare and powerful knowledge. They understand that the prime material planes are so infinite that events within them often make little difference to the grand cosmos, a truly unsettling thought for any hero. The Shadowfell's properties make it an ideal setting for unique campaign mechanics. While time and gravity generally match the material plane, hope and vitality decay quickly. Storytellers can impose effects like exhaustion or despair after long rests, reflecting the plane's gloom. Light sources only illuminate half the normal distance, the colours are leached, creating a stark black and white landscape, yet the extreme contrast makes even dim light sources visible over much greater distances. The landscape is magically morphic, constantly shifting and diverting, diverging from its material plane counterpart, making mapping futile. Shadow quakes, resembling small earthquakes, can disrupt shadow travel and dump unfortunate travelers in unknown locations. Magic here operates on loss. Necromancers tap into the negative energy plane's raw force, while Shadowvar arcanists wield their Shadow Weave, a formidable magic that steals light and diminishes the caster's soul. Regions with an affinity for the negative energy plane drain life force, reducing unprotected visitors to ash. Less dangerous but equally unsettling are mirages of familiar faces and places, appearing as distorted nightmares to demoralize travelers. Areas saturated by death, such as battlefields or crypts, can thin the veil between the planes, providing natural gateways to the Shadowfell. The Shadowfell is far more than just a gloomy reflection of the material plane. It's a profound and complex entity within the D&D multiverse. It serves as a dumping ground for entropy, a nexus for parallel realities, and a prison for the damned. Its inhabitants, from the ambitious Shadowvar to the enigmatic Shadowkai and the tormenting dark powers, each add psychological horror and narrative depth layers. By embracing the comprehensive lore of the Shadowfell, you can inject unparalleled existential dread, cross-dimensional intrigue, and morally grey choices into your campaigns, transforming mundane adventures into sagas of cosmic significance and personal reckoning. Don't miss out on these forbidden truths. They will fundamentally change how you perceive and run D&D. Now let's get into a little more history and the fate of some refugees from fallen Netheril, the Empire of Magic. This wasn't in the player's handbook. The Shadowvar are the true Lords of Shadow, a reclusive and arrogant people descended from ancient Netheril. Every DM should know this, most don't, missing out on their warlike culture and the mastery of shadow magic. The Shadowvar are the inhabitants of Thul-Tanthar, a flying city of shade, which returned to Toril in 1372 Dale Reckoning, after a 1700-year exile in the Plane of Shadow. During this prolonged exposure, their souls were fundamentally changed, particularly the ruling class, who became twisted, dark humanoids known as Shades. And remember, in ancient Netheril, the ruling class were mages, so basically anybody prone to using magic is prone to becoming a Shade. Not all Shadowvar are Shades, but their society revolves around arcane prowess, with wizards and sorcerers, termed arcanists, holding the highest regard. They believe Anarok is their undisputed domain, using their spells to keep the sandstorms at bay and actively reshaping weather patterns across northern Faerun to restore the desert to its ancient fertility, regardless of the destruction it causes to surrounding realms like the Dale Lands. Their society is structured around the Princes of Shade, led by High Prince Telemont Tanthul and his 12 sons. Telemont, known as the Lord of Shadow, maintained his longevity through powerful magic and embodied ancient Netheril customs. While fiercely competitive, the princes remained united in their goal of re-establishing the glory of the Netheril Empire. Those practices of maintaining their longevity is common to most wizards these days. Well, it's not often mentioned, but yeah, there's a reason why wizards live for a long time. The Shadowvar venerate Shah exclusively, viewing worship as a means to achieve personal ambitions rather than true devotion. They employ continent-wide scrying nets and infiltrate courts with Sharan spies, deciding who is worthy of transformation into a true Shade. This lore, often omitted from modern guides, reveals the Shadowvar as more than simple antagonists. They are a tragic remnant of a fallen empire, offering rich campaign hooks for intrigue and shadow-based adventures. Keep in mind that the Shadowvar are well aware of access they have to parallel dimensions through the Shadowfell, and for anyone who has watched a lot of episodes of Rick and Morty, well, you might kill a Prince of Shade only to find a slightly different version of them back in power the very next day. You might even have to fight more than one of them at the same time, or have them seemingly appear in two places at once. It gets even worse when you consider that they may employ doppelgangers in their extensive spy networks. The Shadowvar cult is a powerful force to contend with. But there are others with enormous power within the Shadowfell, including the Raven Queen and the Shadowkai. The Raven Queen and the Shadowkai are the heart of the Shadowfell's mysteries, a secret that could upend your understanding of fate and death. You're missing out if you don't include this in your campaign. The Raven Queen is an enigmatic goddess of death, fate, and winter. She doesn't possess a physical form, but appears as a collection of symbols and images. Her obsession lies in collecting memories and strong emotions, particularly those associated with loss and tragedy. Her divine realm, the Fortress of Memories, also known as Letherina, is a graveyard of lost monuments and moments, overflowing with fragments of dead deities and emotional stories. She dispatches ravens as guides for her Shadowkai agents who traverse the multiverse to collect mementos, memories, or even the souls of the dying or their queen. If I could go off script for a second here, the best way to describe the Raven Queen, or to get some idea of who she is and what the Shadowkai are up to, is imagine a god that is actually the collection of thousands and thousands of haunted objects that are collected up into a room, and the pervasive force of the Raven Queen that emerges from that is what the Shadowkai build, serve, and what operates as the Raven Queen. So she's a very different entity as a god. Okay, back on script. The Shadowkai, her devoted followers, are an offshoot of elves bound to the Shadowfell. Their origins stem from a failed ritual by the Queen to ascend to divinity, which instead siphoned her and her followers into the Shadowfell, forever binding their souls to her increasingly grief-stricken existence. There are 3 canonical strains of Shadowkai, each with distinct origins and fates. As immortal elf offshoots, originally in Elven Kingdom of the Feywild, they were cursed during a ritual to unify the Elven pantheon. In the Shadowfell, they appeared withered and corpse-like, but on other planes they look far more youthful with pale hair and a deathly pallor. They are mournful, joyless, and nearly immortal, with their souls returning to the Raven Queen upon death. They use spiked chains and are master shadow dancers. As cursed Feywild Shadow Fae, they were originally Fae bound to nature, who in ancient times sought to darken the world to protect it from mortal pillaging. Their ritual backfired, creating a shadowy chain that somehow constantly pulled their souls into the plane of shadows. They are bitter and malicious, engaging in self-mutilation and masochistic rituals to feel vivid sensations and ward off the numbing effects of their curse. They are cunning illusionists and prefer ambushes. And then, as spell-plagued born human variants, these emerged after the spell plague in 1385 DR, when latent shadow energy in Netherese humans in the Shadowfell awakened. They have grey skin, solid black eyes, and extensive tattoos and piercings. They avoid ennui, which leads to becoming undead wraiths. By mastering ancient arts or martial prowess, or by seeking intense emotional and physical stimulation, they ward it off. They are often agents of the Shadowvar and can perform a shadow jaunt teleport. The constant battle between the Raven Queen's Shadowkai and the Demon Lord Orcus, along with the deity Vector, who seeks control of the Shadowfell and the Fortress of Memories, highlights the ongoing power struggles within this bleak plane. This interconnected lore highlights the Shadow's role in the weave of fate, offering players deep role-playing opportunities centered on themes of loss, memory, and resurrection. And it's interesting to note that all 3 groups of Shadowkai are all completely legitimate within the Shadowfell because of its access to parallel realities. They've all got a very good reason for being there in the Shadowfell, if not in the lore books. Long before the goddess Shah wove the plane of shadow into the modern Shadowfell, the primordial void teemed with formless darkness. From this timeless nothingness emerged 13 colossal beings known as the Shadowvari, or the Lords of Shadow, not to be confused with the Shadowvar. These terrifying entities predate even the first quarrel between the goddess Selûne and Shah, originating from a primordial essence of chaos, shadow, and timeless nothingness. So these are a bit like the Eldrazi. Planar scholars debate their true nature, classifying them as either a form or an Oberith demon or shards of the void outside reality. Whatever their true origin, they move through darkness with an ominous power, likened to krakens in black water. Their goal is not conquest, but to unmake color, heat, and memory, recreating the formless dusk that birthed them. In mythic times, the Shadowvari aided Shah in her attempts to snuff out all light, restoring her power whenever she was wounded by Selûne's moonfire. Eventually, Azuth, the High One and consort to Mystra, while he was a mortal archmage, devised a way to trap them. He created an illusion of a shadow realm within a pocket-sized crystal sphere outside of Toril, luring the Shadowvari inside. Once trapped, Azuth imprisoned them using the Shadow Star, this sphere, a key of shadows forged by Gond, which he then cast into the cosmos, somewhere. While canon suggests that they remain imprisoned, clerics of Shah whisper that cracked constellations in Toral's night sky mark the prison weakening, hinting at their potential return. These beings represent an elder evil suitable for epic tier play, where their mere arrival capable of plunging kingdoms into eclipse. They are formidable bipedal creatures covered in iron-grey, lizard-like skin, covered with moving with exceptional speed, using their talons for devastating rending attacks. They embody unrestrained horror, blending physical menace with their association with ancient shadowy forces. I prefer to give them no physical form whatsoever. They are just literally darkness. Perhaps the most chilling aspect linked to the Shadowfell is the existence of the Dark Powers and the Domains of Dread. Is it a coincidence that I'm mentioning the Shadowvari directly before this? Yeah. The Dark Powers are mysterious, unknowable, and omnipotent entities that manipulate the very fabric of the Shadowfell. They're often described as godlike, though some interpretations suggest they are more like brokers of divinity or ancient forces older than the gods themselves. They appear nowhere in divine pantheons and manifest only through the mists of Ravenloft, which conceal and define their domains. The Dark Powers create the Domains of Dread as prisons for individuals who have committed incredible evil or treacherous deeds and have become irredeemable. When a mortal commits a uniquely heinous act that leaves a spark of unfulfilled desire, the powers carve a parcel of the Shadowfell around that villain, building a domain of dread specifically tailored to torture the Dark Lord with an ironic reflection of their sins. Each domain functions as a metaphysical trap ranging in size from a single house to an entire continent, ensuring the eternal punishment of its Dark Lord. Barovia, for example, twists Strahd's hunger for Tatiana into eternal failure, while Bluetspur amplifies an illithid overlord's insatiable research drive into a nightmarish science. So, these four elements, the Shadowfell itself, the Shadowvari, the Raven Queen, the Shadowkai, and the Dark Powers and Domains of Dread, are intricately woven into the tapestry of D&D's cosmology, creating a multi-layered narrative of encroaching shadow, punishment, and cyclical torment. The Shadowfell acts as a canvas upon which these horrors are painted, its bleak environment amplifying the malevolence of its denizens and the despair of its victims. The primordial Shadowvari represent a cosmic ancient evil, a foundational threat of unmaking that predates even divine struggles. The Raven Queen and the Shadowkai embody themes of fate, inevitable death, and eternal service, providing a more structured, though still grim, aspect of the plane. Finally, the Dark Powers transform parts of the Shadowfell into personalized prisons, ensuring that no evil deed goes unpunished, trapping villains in their own twisted desires. Now, combine it with the concept of crossing between parallel alternate prime material planes, Shadowkai who seem to be immortal just to be displaced from the original prime material reality, still in service to a Raven Queen now elevated to a status of a trans-dimensional being. Suddenly entities like Pale Night, the Queen of Chaos, the Lady of Pain, Asmodeus, the Overgod start to appear just like beings who operate according to the laws of far different prime material planes, and we're only just scratching the surface of how deep that rabbit hole goes. Special thanks to Crow for sponsoring this video. Anyone who joins my Fourthwall site with an annual membership gets to pick a video topic and I will produce that video for you. Fourthwall members are getting the full version of this video, which has a fair amount of additional lore content. So go sign up, don't miss out on the deep secrets of D&D. My name is AJ Pickett, your guide to Dungeons & Dragons Multiverse and beyond. Thank you very much for listening, and as always, I'll be back with more for you very soon.